Hey guys, welcome to the free high-ticket e-commerce mini course on YouTube. Before we get started, if you could please hit the subscribe button below, like this video. It would mean a lot to me. It would help my content perform better on YouTube. And if you could also watch to 50% through the video, I would greatly appreciate it. We're going to dive right in. So just before we get started, I'm just going to do some brief review on the previous modules. So you can go back and watch each of these. I'll link them below the video if you haven't watched them yet. But the first thing we want to do is we want to have a good business set up. So what this means is essentially just want to have a corporation. We want to have bank accounts. We want to have a credit card. We want to have a business address, and we want to have a business phone number. Once we have everything business setup-wise, administratively set up, we want to choose a niche. So what we're looking for with a niche is one with consistent demand year-round. And the reason for that is because the easiest sale that you'll ever make is when you're selling to someone who is already searching for what you're selling them. So we want to find a niche with demand, and we want it to have relatively consistent seasonality year-round. And if you do have something that's seasonal, that's fine. We just want to find something that is inversely correlated with it. So to provide you an example of that, fire pit tables will be very seasonal, and they'll sell a lot in the spring. But you can combat that by selling fireplaces as well, which will be seasonal in the winter. So related items, your store would be maybe fire themed or home heat themed, but you'll have different items peaking at different times throughout the year, which will help smooth out the seasonality curve. So seasonality is fine, but just make sure you have, if you are selling seasonal items, make sure that they're inversely correlated with something in your niche. We want to have high price point, obviously. So this is all gone over there. We want to have high price point, demand, the seasonality thing I mentioned. We want to have lack of brand loyalty. So brand loyalty is stuff like when you buy an iPhone, like you're buying it because it's Apple. So we want to have lack of brand loyalty. Like we want people just like searching for the best products, irrespective of what brand they come from. After that, we want to find suppliers for those products. So we use Google Shopping to do that. We find existing high-ticket e-commerce stores, and we source our suppliers from those. Once we have a built-out supplier list, we'll get their contact information. And once we have that, we'll start building our demo store. And the reason we want to build our demo store is so when we reach out to suppliers, we can give them our website and say, hey, I am the founder and CEO of xwebsite.com. Here's our demo site. I just wanted you to take a look at it. So then they can see that you're not just like reaching out to them without a website hoping to sell their stuff. It adds an air of professionalism and will increase your chances at closing that. So again, I will link all those videos below right now. And when you go to those, there'll be different templates and resources linked under each of those as well that will help you with each of those. So before watching this, I recommend you, or at least cut up to that point, and then check this video out. So we will dive right in on closing suppliers. So I just want to start with the importance of supplier relationships. So many people in the online income space are just people who are just trying to make a quick buck. And suppliers are sensitive to that. Like they can almost sense it if that's your intention. And we don't want to have that. Like that's kind of why the business setup part is so important, because if you incorporate a business, you set up banking and everything for it, it adds an air of professionalism. It's almost a barrier to entry. And we want that. Like a barrier to entry is a good thing because it will kind of weed out the people who aren't serious. So when we're managing supplier relationships, it's very important to keep in mind these are people. So like, don't just try and think you're just going to use them to make a quick couple dollars and you're never going to speak to them again. You're just going to upload their stuff on your website and that's it. It's not. And it's very important that you have good relationships with these people because on some of my like best suppliers, like I'm on like a texting relationship with. So if there's a sale, they'll text me. There's been situations where there's like damaged products where technically it's our fault, but they've helped us cover it just because we're on such good terms with them. So it's very important to nurture those relationships. Don't think of them as like your suppliers that you're just getting products from. Like they're your business partners. You're doing business together, and you're both in it to have a mutually profitable long-term relationship. And it's important to have that frame of mind from the get-go. So just on that point, just treat them as people, value the relationships. They are the lifeblood of your business, and treat it like such. So the outreach process. So when you reach out to these suppliers, there's 3 different ways you can do it. So let's say if 100 people are reaching out, 80 of them are just going to send them an email, 70 to 80, maybe 10 to 20 will give them a call, just on the general line on their website. And maybe 5 will actually find the decision maker, such as the CEO or the head of e-commerce or whoever it may be, and they'll contact them. So I would recommend you try and do the one that no one else is doing. So you can go to things like LinkedIn, you can type in the company name, you can go to employees, and then you can find the decision maker on there and see if you can find their contact information. If you can't find it on LinkedIn, you can send them a message and just ask them for a phone call, or even you can just send them a message, say that you're interested in working together. If you go to these brands' websites that you sourced in the previous module, you're just going to get put through like a customer service helpline. And if you contact them, you can ask them to speak with someone about becoming an online retailer, and they may be able to connect with the right person. But sometimes they'll just be a gatekeeper, and they'll say, "Oh, we're not accepting retailers at this time," and then they'll tell you to go away, pretty much. So that's what I always recommend, if possible, going directly to the decision maker, so you bypass that gatekeeper. When you do contact them, it's not like, a lot of people get nervous about this. It's really not that hard. Like, all you have to do is say, "Hey, it's so-and-so from XYZ company. We're interested in expanding our," whatever the product type is. So we're interested in expanding our outdoor furniture line, and we're really interested in working with your brand. Our product research team did some research, and based on what we found, we feel like we have a lot of value to add to your brand and help growing it in the future. Can you please let me know how to become an online retailer of your products?" That's essentially what you have to say. And then the person will, there's not really, things like this are tough because the conversation can go any which way of like 1,000 different ways. So I can't really give you like advice on every single way. But yeah, before we dive into actual questions that you're going to receive, I recommend that you create a supplier CRM. So you probably have hundreds of suppliers, and it's going to be very, you'll quickly lose track of who you've contacted, who you haven't contacted, how the conversation went when you contacted them, everything like this. So I recommend you create a drive to manage this. So you're going to have, so in the previous module you did supplier research, you'll have suppliers that meet the criteria. Once they meet the criteria, you'll add them here with their contact info. So say I had a brand, it was called brand XYZ. It would be the brand XYZ supplier, and then you can have the contact person, and you can have different people in different emails. So you can have multiple people from the same company that you're contacting. So if you reach out to one and it doesn't work, you can then move back to the beginning and start contacting the other one. But let's say this brand XYZ met the criteria in our previous module, and let's say I give the person a call. It goes well. They say call. We can go to activity. So, or notes, call with X person on X date, next steps discussed, and you can just save it, and then you have a note right here of how everything went, which is awesome. And then say they don't respond, but then you follow up with them on email. Then they reply to your email. You can move them along when they send you a dealer agreement, when you're actually onboarding them onto your website, when they're onboarded, all the way to when ads are set up. Or if they tell you that they're not accepting dealers at this time, you can move them to follow up, and you can schedule an activity that says follow up in 2 months. So 2 months from now would be January. Just like this. And then you'll get a notification to follow up with them then. This is Pipedrive. I like Pipedrive. There's lots you can use. Close is really good. Trello even works. Monday.com, Notion. There's all sorts of different ones you can use. But you just want to essentially, every brand that you have on your list, you want to put in here, and you want to just keep track of the process throughout. Just so you're staying on top of things. You have all interactions recorded. So every time you hop on the phone with someone, just put like a summary of how it went. Schedule follow-ups, make notes of next steps, everything like this, just so you're on top of things. If you can't get a hold of someone, you can always just reach out on an email. So when you reach out to these brands, there's often like a dealer portal that will say like become a dealer on their website, or they'll have like an info@whatever.com on their website. That is going to be your lowest converting way to actually reach out to these people. You close the lease that way, but if you do like enough volume, if you have a ton of suppliers in your niche, then you just reach out to so many of them, we are bound to get some yeses. So while I recommend to convert the highest percentage, reaching out to the decision maker through like LinkedIn or using Apollo or one of these tools to actually get their contact info, if that doesn't work, you can then call the brand on their website and ask to speak with the person just about becoming a retailer. If that doesn't work, then your last step is kind of just sending an email either to the decision maker or just to the general info line. And what I just wrote out a quick script for you here, just what you can say. So, hi supplier, my name is X. I'm the founder and CEO of your store. We're in the process of expanding our product type collection, and our team identified your brand as a high potential partner in this space. I'm confident in our ability to grow your brand name with our omnichannel marketing strategy in the months to come. Can you please let me know how to become an online retailer of your products? And one other thing you can try is, this is kind of like a big ask just for like an email. So what you could instead do is ask for a phone call, which is a lower ask, which will ideally have a higher yes percentage than asking just straight up to become a dealer of your products. Instead, you could sub out this last line and say, would you be open to a 5-10 minute chat to discuss our brands to see if we would be a fit to work together moving forward? And then if they say yes, you can get on a phone with them. You can tell them about your brand, what you envision doing. And ideally they say yes, and then you can actually upload their products after the phone call. But again, just keep track of this stuff in Pipedrive as much as you can, just to stay on top of things. And when you're sending these emails, if you aren't getting responses, I would recommend, like, it might sound a lot, but just follow up every 2 to 3 business days until you get a reply. So don't take no reply as a no. Just literally keep following up saying, hey, do you have an update? Hey, wondering if you saw my email above. Hey, you can just resend the email. There's all sorts of different things you can do. But I recommend continuing to follow up until you actually get a yes or a no or a follow up with us in 2 months. And just keep track of all that in Pipedrive as well. So just to go over some common questions that you might get. So are you an online retailer? Never call and say, hey, can we dropship your stuff? It's just like a bad term. So what you can say is that you're a non-stocking dealer, which essentially means you're a dropshipper, but it just sounds better. A non-stocking dealer or an online retailer or something. And the brands may actually prefer to dropship, because if you warehouse the stuff, they have to ship it to you, and then you have to ship it to the customer. So you're paying for 2 shippings, where if they just drop ship it from themselves to the customer, there's only 1 shipping, which is actually advantageous for both of you. So the real reason they don't want to drop ship is more just people are unprofessional and they're not serious about their businesses. That's why that gets a bad name. So if you can show that you're serious about your business and you know what you're doing, there's no reason for them not to want to drop ship. So just when you call them, that's why we say, can you set us up with an online retailer account or a non-stocking dealer account, something like this. If they say to you, or do you want to work on dropship? If they straight up ask, then you can say yes. That's like how we would prefer to ship. But just don't come out and say that like in your first conversation with them, for example. They might ask about your marketing plan. So just say that you're focused on all strategies. So the normal ones such as Google, Facebook, Instagram, such as everyone else, but say that you also focus on different things such as Bing, Pinterest, Snapchat, Etsy, Reddit, whatever else, just to make yourself sound a little bit unique. And it's also good to mention that you're focusing on SEO, which a lot of stores don't do. That will help differentiate you. On the marketing plan question, how long have you been in business? So one thing here is you want to leverage any previous experience you have. So if you have any previous e-commerce stores, even in different spaces, or if you've worked at like a marketing agency, or you've worked, you started your own business, brick and mortar, any business experience you have, you want to leverage here. So say I've own a business for the last 10 years, and this is actually just my new venture. That gives you a lot more legitimacy than just like, oh no, I'm brand new. First time ever doing anything like this. So any leverage you have here, or even if within your niche, if you have experience, like let's say you're an athlete and you are selling sports stuff, you could say I was a professional athlete for X many years. This is kind of my new venture. I want to start selling like sports equipment, whatever it may be. You just want to leverage any experience you have. If you get asked a question like this, how many sales do you have? So you can just say that you're pre-launch, but you anticipate doing upwards of $50,000 a month, which is not unreasonable at all. Like if you put the work in, you should be able to hit that. How many employees you have? So if you have a VA, you can say you do. You can say that you're just, if you're just working on your own, you can say that you're just getting things set up yourself, but you have a plan to hire like 5 to 7 team members once things get up and going, which is true. If you have like 200,000 a month sales, you'll need that. What else do you sell? So this is a good common question where they'll ask you just like what other product categories you have. So if you're contacting, let's say, a treadmill brand, you could say I'm also selling home gyms, ellipticals, rowers. If you're selling saunas, you could say we're also going to sell massage chairs, home gym equipment, red lights, like all. Just say like the related collections. So you'll be familiar with this from the second video, which was high level niche. So just say like other related products that you plan to have in your store. If you could ask that. What is your advertising budget? So just say here, a good response is that you do not have a limit. Just say we're going to start with, I don't know, just say like $5,000 a month. And then we're going to use all of our profits. We're going to reinvest as much as we can. And as long as we're staying profitable and we have a high ROI, we'll spend as much on ads as we can. is a good reply, and what credit terms you need. So ideally, if you have a credit card, you'll say that we do not need any credit terms. We're going to prepay for all of our orders, which will make things much easier on their end because they're not extending you any credit. Hence, there is no risk to them. So just say like, we don't need credit terms. We're just going to prepay for orders. If you do not have any credit card to put them on, you can ask for like net 10 terms, which means they'll give you 10 days to pay for the order after it ships. And oftentimes if they say things like, no, we're not accepting online e-commerce accounts at this time, that's not really a reason. Like, okay, why? And then the reason why is probably because their existing dealers suck. Like they're not doing a very good job at marketing the brand's materials. They're not responding to their customers, which is giving their brand a bad name. Who knows what the reason is, but don't take like, we're not accepting e-commerce accounts at face value. So if they say that, be like, okay, oh, interesting, why? And then try and suss out why they're not. And then when you figure out why they're not, it's going to likely be related to one of these questions. Like their existing dealers are not professional, they're not following their policies. And then as soon as you find out what it is, you can then be honest with them and say like, no, like you don't have to worry about that with us. Like we will do that. We'll do whatever you need. Like we're here to grow your brand. We're here to be business partners with you. And we're here to like have a long and mutually profitable relationship and grow your brand and market your stuff and give your customers excellent service. But you need to actually find out why. Like you can't just accept, we're not accepting dealers at face value. And as your brand grows, you're going to have more and more supplier relationships. So one thing you can do to actually close a bunch of suppliers, you can go to trade shows. So in your niche, if you just type in whatever, I don't know, like cooking trade show near me, you can find trade shows and all of the brands will actually go there. You can go meet the people in person. Your existing suppliers will be able to meet them in person. It's also a great way to close new suppliers at these trade shows, and you can close them a bunch in like a 1-day period. I've never done this, but it's something I want to do this year. And for your very best suppliers, like the ones that you've done, like that are making up most of your sales, you can send them like holiday packages at different times of the year. And if you are on like a texting basis, you can like wish your brand contact happy birthday, or like send their kids stuff. Just like honestly, just being a good person, and they'll really appreciate that, and it will go a long way for your relationship, and it will pay you back 10x just in like having access to sales and having first access to inventory and all sorts of things like this. So for purposes of this module, the next module after this is going to be actually onboarding suppliers onto your store. So what I want you to focus on this week is you want to close as many suppliers as you can that meet the criteria that I outlined in module 3. So I hope you enjoyed this video. In terms of next steps, I hope this was helpful. So you want to use these different outreach methodologies, so phoning them, emailing them, and you want to get 5 to agree to work with you, at least 5 to agree to work with you before you start onboarding them onto your store. But you want to get as many as possible. And then once we get them closed, we'll then onboard them onto our store, and you'll be off to, the next steps are onboard them onto our store and then start our ads. But immediate next steps, we want to close as many as we can. So from this video, when I release this, to the next point, when we'll actually be releasing the onboarding video, close as many of these as you can. That should be your goal. Use Pipedrive or other software like that to keep track of your interactions. I will link this script below the video, some common questions. You can practice if you have friends or family, just like reaching out, what it will be like. But the main thing here is volume. The more outreaches you do, the more comfortable you'll get, and the better you'll get at it. If you do get objected and told that they're not accepting online retailer accounts, you want to find out why and then handle their objection head on. And if you really want, you can go to trade shows, and you can, and this is more of a long-term thing, but as you start building supplier relationships, you can nurture those through gifts and just like being a good person and building the relationship. But I hope you found this video. Again, if you could please please subscribe. I hope you took some value. I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. And the next video will be on actually onboarding your suppliers. But until then, close as many of these as you can, and I'll talk to you soon.